Lesson 109 is about simple and compound interest. And interest is just money that's paid in order to borrow someone else's money. So, if you put your money in the bank may pay you interest. But if you borrow money from a bank, like with a credit card, then you might have to pay them interest in order to have borrowed their money. Let's look at a few problems. Jim put $5,000 in the bank for 2 years at 8% simple interest. How much money did he get when he withdrew his money after 2 years? So simple interest just means we have to find out what 8% of $5,000 is, and do that twice, because it's for 2 years, to find out how much money he got back when he withdrew his money. So 8%, that's 0.08, times 5,000 is going to tell us how much interest he gets paid each year. Since it's simple interest, the amount will stay the same every year. Well, 8% of 5,000, 5,000 times 0.08, well, we can see we're going to have 3 zeros to begin with, and 8 times 5 is 40. Decimal comes out twice, so we bring it back in twice. 8% of $5,000 is $400. Now simple interest means he's going to get $400 for the first year, and then he's going to get $400 for the second year, and it would continue with that pattern. So $400 for the first year, $400 for the second year, that must equal a total of $800. So how much money did he get when he withdrew his money after 2 years? Well, he got $800 in interest, plus the original $5,000 he put in there, so he's going to have a total of $5,000 plus $800, that's $5,800. And we've got our final answer. Let's look at another problem with simple interest. Maria deposited $800 at 8% simple interest. At the end of 3 years, how much money will she have? Well, 8%, that's 0.08. 8% of $800, so times, is how much money? We'll call that x. Let's do the math. We've got 800 times 0.08. 8 times 0 twice is 0 twice. And 8 times 8 is 64. Decimal comes out twice, so we bring it back in twice. 8% of 800 must be $64. So how much money will she have at the end of 3 years? Since this is simple interest, she's going to get $64 each year. So $64 each year times 3 years, because we want to know at the end of 3 years. 3 times 4, that's 12, and we'll carry our 1. 3 times 6 is 18, plus 1 more is 19. So we get 192. How much money will she have? Well, she started with 800, then she earned 192 in simple interest. So she's going to get $992 at the end of 3 years. And we've got our final answer. The key here is that simple interest, it just means your amount stays the same, no matter how many years you do it. So it's always going to be $64 per year, and you multiply it by the number of years to help find your final answer. Let's look at our next example. How much money will $700 be worth in 2 years if the money is deposited at 8% interest compounded annually? So this is an example of compound interest. And compound interest is different than simple interest because you have to recalculate the total after every year. Let's look at what that looks like. So $700 is our initial amount. At 9% simple interest, so 0.09 times $700 is going to tell us how much interest we earn in the first year. 700 times 0.09, well, we can see we've got 2 zeros right off the bat, and 9 times 7 is 63. Decimal moves out twice, so it comes in twice, and we get $63. So this is equal to $63 after our first year. So after our first year, we have $763. Now, if you're letting a bank borrow your money and they're paying you interest, you want to have compound interest if possible, because that means for the second year, instead of starting with 700 again and using the same number, you're going to start with the new total after the first year. So you're going to figure out 9% of $763 to figure out what your total is after the second year. So we're going to get 763 times 0.09. 9 times 3 is 27. We'll carry our 2. 9 times 6 gives us 54. Plus 2 more is 56. Carry our 5. 9 times 7 is 63. Plus 5 more must give us 68. Decimal moves out twice, so it comes back in twice. You can see in the second year we actually earned $68.67. That's more than our first year of $63, and that's because the total we began with in our second year is greater than the total that we started with in our first year. So compound interest will allow you to earn more money. We've got $68.67. So to find out how much we have after the second year, we need to add. We're going to take 763, the amount we started with in the beginning of our second year, and add 68.67 to that. So you can see we've got 67 cents. 3 plus 8 is 11, and we'll carry our 1. 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 1 more is 13. We've got to carry our 1 again. We must have an 8. So our final answer would be $831.67 after the second year. We'll go ahead and box that one because that's our final answer. The key difference between compound interest versus simple interest is that compound interest starts over after every year based on the amount you have at the beginning of the year. The simple interest will always stay the same based on what you originally started with. Lesson practice will be on page 340. Make sure you've got your notes complete, and I'll see you during our next class.